Right, let's get into it. Today we're unpacking one of the most quietly fascinating storylines in MotoGP right now. And trust me, it's more layered than it looks on the surface. Marc Marquez, the reigning world champion, 9-time title winner, the man who basically rewrote the rulebook on what it means to ride a motorcycle fast, has come out and said that Aprilia's dominant start to the 2026 season is absolutely no surprise to him whatsoever, not even a little bit. We're also going to get into why Ducati, the outfit that steamrolled the entire grid for the past several years, is suddenly scrambling for answers, and perhaps most intriguingly, what on earth is going on with Marquez himself? Because the bloke who looked untouchable just months ago is currently sitting outside the top 3 podium conversation in Grand Prix racing. Stay with me. This one's worth your time. If you've not been keeping close tabs on the 2026 season so far, here's your quick briefing after 3 rounds. Thailand, Brazil, and the United States. The order at the front of the championship looks nothing like what most people would have predicted 12 months ago. Marco Bezzecchi has won every single Grand Prix. His factory Aprilia teammate Jorge Martin has been picking up sprint wins and podiums consistently, sitting second in the standings. Pedro Acosta on the KTM is third, and the highest-placed Ducati rider, Fabio Di Giannantonio, in fourth. Meanwhile, Marc Marquez, the man who won 7 MotoGP titles, including a breathtaking comeback championship in 2025, hasn't stood on the top step of a Grand Prix podium once this season. His only win so far has been a sprint race in Brazil. So the question on everyone's lips in the paddock is obvious. What changed? And why did Marquez, of all people, see it coming? Here's where it gets genuinely interesting. When journalists caught up with Marquez and asked him to name the biggest surprise of the season so far, his answer was remarkably unbothered. He told MotoGP.com that for him, none of this was any surprise at all. That back in the latter stages of the 2025 season and through pre-season testing, it was already becoming crystal clear that Bezzecchi was rapid and that Aprilia as a package was genuinely on the rise. And honestly, he's got a point. Cast your mind back to the tail end of 2025, once Marquez suffered that shoulder injury in Indonesia and stepped away from the final races, the floodgates opened. 4 different winners in 5 Grands Prix. Raul Fernandez took a maiden MotoGP victory for Trackhouse Aprilia at Phillip Island. Bezzecchi had been pushing Marquez hard at Assen and Misano. The RSGP was already showing the kind of raw pace that made paddock insiders take notice. The signs were there. Marquez read them correctly. And now, in 2026, what felt like potential has crystallized into dominance. Luca Marini over at Honda echoed the sentiment, noting that all manufacturers had improved considerably in pre-season, but that Aprilia, in particular, had taken a significant step forward. From someone watching from a rival garage, that's telling. This is the question with no comfortable answer. At least, not yet. There are 2 threads here, and both are real. First, there's the physical situation. Marquez is still managing the fallout from that shoulder injury sustained in Indonesia during the 2025 season. At the Brazilian Grand Prix, he described his own condition in a word that will raise eyebrows: critical. His former rival, Andrea Dovizioso, has gone on record saying that the physical situation is more serious than it appears from the outside. Ramon Forcada, the man who won 3 MotoGP titles as crew chief alongside Jorge Lorenzo. Put it plainly on a podcast, we haven't seen the real Marc Marquez on the 2026 machine. The body language, the riding style, the hesitancy in certain corners, which it all points to someone managing pain rather than expressing full potential. That's a significant admission when you consider what Marquez looked like at his peak in 2025. He won 6 consecutive Grands Prix at one point. He secured the title with 5 rounds to spare. He was by any measure a force of nature. But here's the second thread, and it's subtler. The Ducati GP26 may simply not yet suit his riding style in the way its predecessor did. Development directions in MotoGP are notoriously precise. Tiny adjustments in geometry, electronics mapping, and chassis flex can make the difference between a rider feeling completely at home and feeling like they're wrestling a machine they don't quite understand. Even the greatest riders in history have gone through this. It's not a weakness. It's just the brutal reality of elite motorsport. Let's give Marco Bezzecchi his proper flowers here, because what he's doing right now is genuinely special. Cast your mind back to when he joined Aprilia for 2025. He was walking into a team that had just lost Jorge Martin to injury, racing against a reigning champion on a rival manufacturer, with enormous expectations placed on his shoulders. And instead of wilting under that pressure, he delivered 3 Grand Prix victories. A new record for any Aprilia rider in a single season. Now, in 2026, he's even better. 3 from 3. A perfect start. He's not just winning. He's winning convincingly, managing races with a composure and tactical intelligence that marks a rider who has fully grown into himself. What makes Bezzecchi particularly dangerous is that this isn't a flash in the pan. His pace at Assen and Misano last year was no fluke. The RSGP suits his style. Smooth, flowing, able to carry corner speed in a way that makes overtaking look almost effortless. If the shoulder issue keeps Marquez hobbled for another month or two, Bezzecchi could build a championship lead that becomes very difficult to claw back. Now, to be absolutely clear, nobody is writing Ducati off. That would be daft. But something is clearly not clicking the way it should be. The most illuminating way to understand this is to look at what happened at the end of the 2025 season. Once Marquez stepped away injured, Ducati's factory team scored just 2 points across 5 Sunday races. 2 points. For a manufacturer that had been utterly dominant for years prior, that number is staggering. The uncomfortable truth is that Marquez, through sheer brilliance, was masking the weaknesses of the GP25. His genius was papering over the cracks. Meanwhile, Francesco Bagnaia, a 2-time world champion in his own right, was quietly struggling with front-end feel and never looked fully comfortable on the bike all season. The fact that Alex Marquez, racing on the older GP24 specification, finished runner-up in the 2025 championship tells you everything you need to know about where the new spec Ducati actually sat relative to the old one. The GP26 is a new development direction, and right now, without a fully fit Marquez to throw at its weaknesses, the picture is complicated. Here's the question that will define the next 18 months of MotoGP discussion. Is Aprilia's dominance the start of a new era? Or is this a window of opportunity? One that exists only while Marquez is injured and Ducati is still finding their footing with the new bike? The honest answer is, nobody truly knows yet. But there is a structural reason to think Aprilia have a genuine window. From 2027, MotoGP undergoes a massive regulatory overhaul. Pirelli tires replacing Michelin, 850 cubic centimeters engines, and a ban on the kind of aerodynamic and ride height devices that have defined the sport's recent technical arms race. That's a clean slate. Whoever reads the new regulations fastest wins. And Aprilia, riding the crest of a momentum wave right now, will fancy their chances of being that manufacturer. For Marquez's part, he's not finished, not remotely. He has overcome worse than a shoulder injury before, and the history of his career is essentially a series of impossible-looking comebacks. When he's fit, he's still the most instinctive and ruthless rider on the grid. The question is simply, how long does recovery take?